And hello, everybody. We are back for the Strengthening Love and Sex podcast.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
We're excited. We're going to have some fun tonight because we're going to get into it. We're getting all the way up in there, and we're going to talk about everything we want to talk about because we are grown, and so are you. And so this is episode 3 of the Strengthening Love and Sex podcast. I hope they listen to the last 2 because we had such a wonderful time. Talk about the little foxes and awakening love when it's time. And tonight we want to talk about get your mama out your bed.
Why is she in the bed?
I don't know. We're going to find out. Now, seriously, we want to talk tonight to married couples and seriously dating couples about the tendency for us not to be able to detach ourselves from our parents' restrictive outlook on sex. It's amazing when we had a workshop not long ago, Unashamed, Naked and Unshamed retreat with married couples, and we asked the people how many people's parents taught them about sex.
Right.
And it was not a lot of people that had parents that talked about sex. But as young people, more is caught than is taught.
Absolutely.
And so even though they didn't verbally teach you about sex, a lot of you got some stuff from your mama and your daddy and them that is holding you hostage in your bedroom. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And as usual, we always try to use a scriptural basis because our faith is centered in what the sacred text has to say about sex. And so I'm going to get my wife to jump in. She's going to play the lover, the female lover tonight in the Song of Songs. And so baby, read it, like sexy, like what is she saying in the Song of Songs chapter 8 beginning with verse 1?
Okay. Oh, I wish you were my brother, who nursed at my mother's breast. Then I could kiss you no matter who was watching, and no one would criticize me. I would bring you to my childhood home, and there you would teach me. I would give you spiced wine to drink my sweet pomegranate wine. Your left arm would be under my head, and your right arm would embrace me. Promise me, O women of Jerusalem, not to awaken love until the time is right.
Now, reading this scripture at face value, isn't it kind of weird?
It is kind of weird.
She said, I wish you were
my brother.
Okay, I thought I was the only one. She said, I wish you were my brother so I could take you to the home of my mother and we both nursed at her breast and I would lead you into my mother's bedroom. And then she goes on to say, your left arm will be under my neck and your right arm around my waist. What is going on? I'm glad y'all asked that question because what is happening in this text, what you don't see culturally, is that during that time and even today in the Middle East, you are not allowed to show public displays of affection between a man and a woman, even if you're married. I remember Rhonda and I, we traveled to Dubai not long ago, and the lady that scheduled the trip gave us some rules that we had to follow. Had to dress modestly. We had to be on our best behavior, be civil. And then there was one thing that stood out: no public displays of affection. I'm like, what? I can't kiss my wife in public.
Can't hold my hand.
I can't hold her hand. And even in Jerusalem, we went to the Holy Land, same rules applied. But what was crazy is we walked down the street and we saw men holding hands and men greeting each other with kisses on the cheek because it was okay for men to display public affection toward one another, but not toward their wives.
Right.
Interesting.
Very.
And what's crazy is that a lot of us in America, even though we are more liberal in our sexuality, still carry some of those same restrictions into our marriage. How so? How does it play out in our modern day, this restrictive, this conservative nature, even though we're in this kind of twerk-free environment and anything goes and they weren't scantily clad, but yet there's some restriction that follows in the bedroom. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Also being played out here in the United States for some couples, they don't show those public displays of affection. Whether it was seen or not seen, they choose not to do so. And if they do try to hold hands or kiss one another in public, then they kind of feel shy about it, which is, kind of weird. You're already married. You kissed everyone in front of a cloud of witnesses when you got married. So what's the difference in holding your spouse's hand in the store or, kissing your spouse when you're out and about?
I always laugh at the boys, even they're young men now. And when I grab my wife and I hug her, or I kiss her, or I grab her behind, they're like, "Oh, stop." I'm like, "What? We're married. How do you think you got here?"
Exactly.
But the thing I'm talking about, babe, is that when people get married and get in the bedroom, some of them are not fully able to express themselves as this woman because her restrictions and her culture taught her you cannot show public displays of affection. So this is where she comes in and she says, "I wish you were my brother, because then I could kiss you in the public and would nobody say anything. I could hold your hand, nobody would say anything. Why? Because that's my brother." Now it sounds at first glance it sounds incestuous, but she's not proposing incest. She's talking about the freedom to show affection in public, and we too should have the freedom to show public displays of affection. But some of us struggle with private displays of affection. You get in the bedroom and you still feel restrictive because your mama's in your bedroom. What do I mean? She's not physically in your bedroom, but she's in your head.
Or your dad is in your head.
How so?
And it's because of some of the things that you probably were taught when you were younger of you don't show these displays of affection even inside the home. Even inside your own bedroom, sometimes they're still thinking, "Oh, the bed is only for reproduction and not really to connect on a more intimate level with your spouse."
Yeah. We carry those same restrictive values into the bedroom when it is we're not able to differentiate our value system from our parents' value system. And again, a lot is caught even though it's not taught. And we grow up with restrictions like good girls don't, finish my thought.
Good girls don't do that. And that is a number of things. That could be don't have sex. Good girls don't kiss. Good girls don't wear lingerie.
Good girls keep their legs closed.
Yes.
Good girls don't call boys on the phone. Boys call girls. It's like girls were conditioned to sit back and wait for the advancement of men,
right,
but not initiate. And so when you get in the bedroom, a lot of women feel guilty initiating sex because good girls don't do sex. There's also been this trend on social media. I don't know if you've seen it. A lot of people are debating whether or not oral sex is a sin. I've seen women, grown women, getting on TikTok and Instagram and talking about, oral sex is a sin. Based upon what? What scripture are you using to say that oral sex is a sin when it's obvious that the Bible wants us to have oral sex? What are you talking about? We talked about in the last podcast. Song of Solomon chapter 2 verse 3 says, "Like an apple tree among the wild trees, so is my lover among the young men. In his shade I take pleasure in sitting, and his fruit is sweet to my taste." She's talking about his sexual organ, his penis. And we tried to water down the Bible, like, no, it ain't what no, that's what it's talking about. She's using allegory to say, I want to taste you. And then look at Songs of Solomon 4:16. Read that one.
It says, "Awake, north wind, and come, you south. Blow on my garden, that its spices may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and taste his precious fruits."
Now, as a woman, and that's a woman talking right there, what is she talking about? Blow on her garden. What do you think that is?
We're talking about oral sex. Talking about blowing between the legs.
Between the sheets.
But this is, okay. So,
okay, come on.
It's so odd to me that some women will say, "Oh, this is bad," or "we don't do it." But in actuality, it's really taking place.
Yeah.
So it's like they want to put on this persona that it's wrong, or put up this facade that it's wrong. In all actuality, they're doing everything that's behind the doors. They're doing everything.
I think a lot of women struggle with the Madonna whore complex.
Okay.
You know, we have Jesus, we have Mary, the mother of Jesus, right? She is a virgin
Right.
when she conceives and gets pregnant with Jesus.
Right.
She doesn't. A man doesn't even enter her until after Jesus is born.
Right.
Then you have Mary Magdalene, who was considered to be a prostitute. Jesus cast out 7 demons from her, and she was one of his disciples. And women struggle between which Mary they're going to be. Am I going to be Mary, the virgin who stays chaste and no man has touched me? Or am I Mary Magdalene, who I had the reputation of being promiscuous, but now I'm saved, and now my promiscuousness is under the auspices of my husband, that I can be free and sexual with my husband. I think women have to integrate the two. They got to learn how to be a woman of God, but at the same time, when you're in the bedroom with your husband, the bed is undefiled.
It absolutely is undefiled. But I think that a lot of women may struggle with that because, just as you said, they don't know which one to be or which way to integrate both of them, because a lot of times women have been frowned upon for being either way. Either if they were too chaste, too holy, or if they were too free or too loose, then there is that stigma either way that's placed upon a woman. So a female needs to decide with her own self, with her spouse, this is the way that I'm going to be. This is the way we're going to learn to be together and grow together, so that there's not any repercussions of having, I'm feeling a certain kind of way because I'm looked at.
This woman said, blow on it.
Yeah.
She said, awake north wind and come. You south wind, blow. Blow on my garden that its spices may flow out.
Now, see, that's what got me right there. Spices.
Spicy. You know, we don't want to be spicy. We want to be sweet. But she's talking about all the spices that make food taste delicious. And she says, and when you blow on it, it flows out. That sounds like to me when a woman is excited and her juices begin to flow. You know,
Arousal.
she gets wet or whatever. She says, let my beloved come into his garden and taste his precious fruits. And what a lot of people don't know is that there's some health benefits from tasting your wife. Yeah, so the vagina is actually healthier, cleaner than the mouth. And the juices from a woman have been known to be a health benefit to men. And then vice versa for a man, men who receive oral sex are less likely to have a heart attack and live longer. So I'm telling y'all, if you want to live longer, you better let them taste that fruit. Taste your fruit. So this is an interesting scripture. I was looking at TikTok the other day, and this woman said, hey, baby, you want to taste what my mama made? And the man said, yeah, what is it? She said, me. But a lot of times men cannot taste what the mama made because the mama's in the bedroom. The mama's in the head. And sometimes as men, we can't enjoy what mama made because mama gets in the way. This woman longed to get to the place where she could express all of her pent-up desires for her husband in public places. Now, we don't suggest. Now, we talked last week about Rhonda said one of her fantasies was to make love in the car in daylight, but we don't want to get arrested either. There was a couple on a Ferris wheel last week that got arrested for having sex in the Ferris wheel.
Let's see, that was just...
But this woman imagines what it would be like to show public displays of affection. And imagination is so key for marriage. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yes.
What are some ways that imagination, like this woman in this text, what are some ways imagination can help enhance what happens in the bedroom?
Imagination enhancing in the bedroom starts before getting in the bedroom. So that could be having a very erotic dinner, having a glass of wine, just taking a bubble bath together. So that helps with loosening you up, getting you out of your mind, getting you out of that space, and being able to enjoy your husband, your partner.
And it gets you out of ruts.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine. Can you imagine what you want your love life to look like? Can you imagine what an erotic encounter looks like? Can you imagine what gourmet sex looks like? Instead of just doing the same routine stuff y'all do, use your imagination. She says, blow, come north wind, blow. Come south wind, blow. So she's like, blow at the top, and blow at the bottom, and watch my juices flow. Top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. I'm going to rock them while I still got. So it's important to use your imagination. And this woman is trying to imagine what it would look like for her and her husband to be in love and to get there. But I was reading a book by Dr. Henry Cloud, and he suggests that a lot of people are not able to fully enjoy each other erotically because they still have the restrictions from parental upbringing. There comes a time in all of our lives when we have to do, as Genesis 2:23 says, leave and cleave. For this reason, a man shall what?
Leave
His mother
and father
and cleave
to his wife.
to his wife, and the two
Shall become one.
should become one. So have you done a good job of leaving your mom and daddy's house so you can enjoy your bed? And I would say many of us haven't. I was reading a case study of a young woman who got married. She imagined what it would be like to have her husband to herself, to be in the bedroom. But when she got married, her libido dropped. And she felt very ashamed to have sex with her husband. And when she went to counseling, she discovered that because she was a daddy's girl, she felt guilty for having sex with her husband. Her daddy was still in the bedroom. And it wasn't until she wrote a letter to her dad saying, Dad, I'm going to have to release you so I can embrace my husband. And she began to be able to be more free with her husband because she made that distinction between her and her dad.
Now, it wasn't just because of the relationship of being a daddy's girl. It was because of the authoritative position in her life. As you know, we as women, we may call our dads on, hey dad, this is broken down, and I need your advice. Or he may come over and fix those things, as opposed to giving all of that fully to your husband.
Yeah. Your husband is the head of your house, and you have to focus more about pleasing your husband than trying to please your dad. And same thing for moms. I was raised by a single parent, and so my mom was everything to me. You know, she was the first authority figure in my life. In a very real sense, she was a friend, and I had to make that distinction that when I got married, my wife took priority over my mom. And we had to have a conversation. You know, Mom, Rhonda's the head of the house, and this is my wife, and my priority is her now. And my mama understood that after the conversation. But it takes the intentionality of a man to tell his mother, my wife comes first. It takes intentionality of a daughter to tell her dad, my husband is my head now.
Well, that's what the symbolism in a wedding is that the dad walking the daughter down the aisle and giving her away. So that's what that symbolism really means, is he's entrusting the man that you're marrying, and he's giving you away to him, not only to take care of financially, but to take care of all the way around.
Yeah. 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. In his book, Changes That Heal, Dr. Henry Cloud says that many people cannot fully express themselves sexually in the bedroom because they have not gone through the adolescent passage of disagreeing with their parents and therefore overcoming guilt and repression. Sexuality is still a no-no to them because psychologically they're still children. And guess what? Children don't have sex.
Most children don't in this day and age.
But go with me. Psychologically, some people are still children.
Absolutely.
And they get in the bedroom and they freeze up because that mama don't want me. Mama said good girls don't do that. Mama said I shouldn't do that. And so we have to come to a place where we disagree with our parents. You know, we take the meat and we leave the bones. Our parents did the best that they could. Every generation has improved upon the information they received from the previous generation, or at least they should. We remember the days when Lucy and Des slept in separate beds on TV, right?
Right, but we knew they had sex because they had a shower.
They had little Ricky.
Right.
They had separate beds. They had separate twin beds, and we were cognitive. We were like, okay, I guess the stork brought little Ricky. But now we fast forward to today, and you see sex everywhere, and there's this cognitive dissonance. Okay, what is sacred? Well, how do we express our erotic nature without throwing away our faith? And I think that's what we're trying to get y'all to see on this podcast, is that you can be a person of faith but still be erotic. But you're going to have to disagree with some of the things you were mistaught. You're going to have to relearn how to appreciate your body and honor your body and love your wife's vagina and love your husband's penis without feeling like I'm doing something nasty.
But a lot of women can't fully embrace their husbands because they haven't fully embraced themselves.
My God. Come on, talk to me.
So they're not in love with their own body or know what feels good to them. And so it's harder for some women to express that to their husbands.
You know, it said, Dr. Cloud said, when people feel like adults with other adults, their bodies are their own to give away to their spouses and enjoy as they please. Only then can there be mutual giving and receiving. You're right. People must be comfortable with their own body, their own sexuality. And there's a question somebody asked, how do you open up when everything you were taught about sex was restrictive? What would you say to that woman?
How do you open up when everything you were taught about sex is so restrictive? Well, one, you know me, you got to start with a conversation, because sometimes you don't know that what you were taught was restrictive until you get into the marriage, into the relationship, when you're seriously dating and you're getting to know one another and you're finding out more about each other and yourself. So those conversations should take place in that dating phase, especially when you're moving toward being just the two of you, where you're thinking about becoming married or getting engaged, or you're newly married. Those conversations have to take place in the very beginning to make that foundation, to lay that foundation there.
Yeah. You said something key too. You said you got to be comfortable with your own body.
Yeah.
I remember we did the workshop and we asked the women in the room, how many of them have looked at their vagina in the mirror? It was a small number, wasn't it?
I think it was a couple.
It was a couple of people out of 16 couples, maybe 2 women knew what their vaginas looked like. And it's amazing because you all go to the gynecologists, lay up on the table and let a stranger look at your most private part, and you haven't even looked at it. We have to be comfortable touching ourselves too. If you catch little boys, don't have a problem touching themselves. You catch men or little boys, they watch the TV with their hands down their pants. But women have been taught it's not right for you to touch yourself. It's okay to touch yourself. God gave you your body for you to enjoy your body. And you got to know what pleasures you and where your husband should touch you and where do you like to be touched. You don't know that if you haven't touched yourself.
If you don't know what you like, then you don't know what you won't like, so that you can effectively communicate that to your spouse as well.
Yeah.
So if it's, let's just say, if he likes to put his tongue in your ear and you don't like that, then you need to be able to let him know. But if he never puts his tongue in your ear or vice versa, then you don't know that.
You like it?
I don't.
I know that. I'll just mess with you. But yeah, you have to experiment with each other and explore one another. I like my wife said a while ago that you have to be a student of your spouse's body. And this woman, she's telling the man what she wants. She said, "Come into my bedroom and blow on my garden so my juices can flow." She said, "Taste the wine of my pomegranates." Now, I don't think she's, again, talking about literal pomegranates. She's talking about her breast, to taste the nectar of her breast. There's a scripture in Proverbs 5 where it says, "Why waste your seed in the street when you can drink water from your own cistern?" And the word cistern is also a Hebrew word which means womb. So Solomon is telling his son how to protect his marriage. He said, you ain't got to be out there wilding out in the street, having adultery, committing adultery, messing with wild women when you got a good thing at home. Go home and taste your wife. He says, drink from her cistern. Enjoy your wife's breast. I mean, how much more plain can we get in terms of the fact that God wants us to enjoy sex? He's given it to us for our pleasure. And what a wonderful thing that God has given us. And we just want you all to be liberated so that you can enjoy everything that God has for you. We have another question.
How do you even know what you like when all you've been told is good girls don't do this? How do you even know what you like when all you've been told is good girls don't do this? You got to go to the lab.
What's that mean?
In the lab is where you experiment.
Huh?
So it's, there are a number of, I don't want to send you to any self-help books or anything, but having that open dialogue with your significant other, honest dialogue, and be honest. If you don't know, you're not going to be reprimanded for not knowing.
Try something new. Experiment.
Here's the thing. I know you've seen a lot of things on television. You probably even read some things in some books. And you have good girlfriends that you talk to. Make a game out of it. Let him put some things in a box. When you take a sticky note, write it down. You put about 5, shake it up. Y'all pull out one every other night.
I've even seen some dice that have, you roll them and it's like,
yes, they do.
Kiss my neck, suck my toe, hold me. This woman says in this text, she says, his left arm is under my head. His right arm is around my waist. Sound like they're spooning to me, don't it?
Yes, I'm saying left.
That's my right. So he's like this right here. He's like,
He's over
I'm popping on. So they're spooning, and my wife and I love holding each other through the night. It's just such a wonderful connection, and I sleep better when I'm embracing you. And I think just start with the simple stuff. Start practicing more PDA. When you're out walking in the mall, hold each other's hands.
Yeah, simple.
Give each other kisses. When you're walking around the house, hold each other at night. After you make love, don't just go to sleep on the opposite sides of the bed. Sit there and relish the afterglow. Have conversations, pillow talk.
Well, that means that the man needs to stay away.
Yeah, that part. And we talked about that before too. One of the ways that you can ensure that your wife stays happy is that you make sure she gets hers first. And so it takes women a little bit longer to reach orgasm. And like we said in the earlier podcast, a small percentage of women reach orgasm through penetration. And the majority of women reach orgasm through oral stimulation of the clitoris. And so as a man, as a husband, you may have to spend more time with her first before you reach climax, because chances are once you climax as a man, you're going to go into your refractory period and you're going to have to get some sleep. We get sleepy when we have our orgasm, whereas women can have multiple orgasms. So start with the woman first.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say to the folks about get your mom out your bedroom?
I think it would be, as you said, you had read something about a young lady wrote a letter to her father. I think it would be also a good idea to write a letter to your mother, and just asking her as a woman, not as a mom, how they remain married. Ask about your parents' intimate sex life, and it's okay. It may feel a little weird at first, especially if you are not that close to your mom or dad. And if you're not that close, then that's another story for another day. But if you're close to your parents, then have that conversation with them. I think I know mine appreciated it when I had the conversation with them, because it kind of puts you on that level of, yes, I'm still child, but I'm grown.
And you know what? The excavation of those conversations is so amazing. To go back and say, Mama, how did you handle this when you were younger? Dad, how did you handle this? And what you discover is that they have a lot of regret of what they wish they could have done. And they explain why they did what they did. And they did the best with the knowledge that they had. But here's where you're benefiting tonight. You're getting information that your parents didn't have. And we hope that this podcast is liberating you to go back in your bedroom and have the best sex of your life. You're supposed to be enjoying one another. Your bedroom is your playground. It's your laboratory, as you said, where you can go experiment. And if it didn't work, try something else. That is the beauty of sex. And God wants you to enjoy sex. And so on September 15th, babe, we have a free masterclass coming up, right?
That's right.
Tell them about our free masterclass.
Now, during our masterclass, we're going to talk about, again, some of those little foxes that get in, that kind of mess with you in your marriage. We're going to tell you on how to avoid those falls. We're going to talk also about how to communicate better with your spouse, different ways of communication. We'll give you some additional tips on intimacy. So we have a lot in store on the 15th.
And it's called Make It Last Forever. Don't let our love fade. Yeah, y'all remember that Keith Sweat, Make It Last Forever. And we want you to have a long, fruitful, passionate, spicy, that's that word again, spicy marriage. We want the waters to flow. We want the kisses to blow. We want you to have the time that God meant for you to have as husband and wife. So on September 15th, 7 p.m., a free, everybody say free master's class, and we're going to spend a whole lot of time together, and it's going to be invitation only. So when you register, you're going to be the only one in the room with us, and we're going to talk about what we need to talk. We're going to have some grown folk conversation,
Yes.
and it's going to be on Zoom, and only the people who register are going to be in the room talking. We had a wonderful time. Last time we had about 70 couples that showed up, and in our Zoom chat. And so this time
More than that, but
we had more than that. Okay, so we want more than that this next time. So will you be in the room with us? Do you want to take your marriage to the next level? Do you want to enhance your intimacy, restore the passion, take sex to the next level, communication to the next level? I believe you do. Do you want to make your love relationship last forever? Then join us on September the 15th and go to the website. What's the website?
the website is going to be strengthening
loveandsex.com.
strengtheningloveandsex.com.
www.strengtheningloveandsex.com. All one word.
All one word.
And if you forget that, you can always go to our website at theunashamedmarriage.com. So we're going to get you there. And Rhonda and I are so proud of you. And we thank you for being able to have this intimate conversation with you and your spouse. And if this was a blessing to you, if this helped you, I need you to write a review on the podcast. You can subscribe to Spotify, to Google, to Amazon, Apple Music. Write a review on the podcast. Like it, share it. If you're on YouTube watching this, please like it, subscribe, and share it with somebody. That's the only way we're able to continue to grow. And y'all know some people who need this kind of information. There's some people who still got their mom in the bedroom, some people who are struggling with public displays of affection, and they need this information to take them to the next level. So until then, we're signing off. Love you guys. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You have just been with us on the Strengthening Love and Sex podcast, SLS, and we want you to come back next week for episode 4. We're going to talk some more about how we experience the fullness of intimacy that God meant for us to have. So please stay tuned for next week, same channel, same time, and we can't wait to help you strengthen love and sex in your relationship.